Hello everybody. And if you want to see this poor, ugly, neglected shrimp tank be transformed into this, then stick around and find out, because I'm about to take you on my journey of my long forgotten, neglected orange shrimp tank. So the story on this tank is that I was starting a best of the best orange shrimp line, and I messed up, and there's I guess a bunch of wild shrimp ended up from whatever tank I'd gathered moss from, ended up in there, and I wasn't really paying attention to it, because this tank always seems to do this because it gets way too much light, because it has its own little Aquatics dedicated light, and it's only a 20 long, so it's really shallow. So it's always plagued with algae issues and stuff. I need to raise that light up. But what I'm trying to do now is I got a bunch of new lights, and so I'm shortening my photo period significantly from like 9 hours to like 4 or 5 hours on some instances. But as you can see, I'm pulling out just mats and mats of hair algae caked in duckweed, and of course you saw the outside glass is a mess because the dogs drink out of this tank. Whether we let them or not, they're still gonna do it. So there's that. So I'm just picking up all the algae. I ended up not even keeping any of the moss. The moss in here is just so bad with algae. So like all my other tanks, they just barely had enough light to grow moss, and so getting 8, 9, 10 hours of light a day was fine. But this tank was on the same timer because it's the bottom of the rack. This is the tank on the floor below my 75 and 420 highs. And so it got the same light, and it has its own little dedicated little Aquatics light. And again, it's only 20 long, so it's really short. So all the moss and everything, I just tossed it because everything was so caked in algae. And time to get, now that we got all the algae out, let's suck up all the duckweed. I'm actually very, very careful not to get any shrimp, so no worries about that. And when you got this situation going here, you got so much duckweed that it's always getting pushed underneath the sponge. So I gotta go down there, and eventually I had to fill it up, drain it, because you end up, duckweed is always finding places where it gets pushed down and then makes its way back up to the surface. And here's my helper, Miss Meow Meow. She's being nosy. So now we've got everything cleared out. You can see some more duckweed floated up to the top. But now we're gonna see the shrimp. And now this has been, I put in like 20 of my best orange shrimp at one time in this tank, and then I ended up messing it all up by letting like 5 or 6 wilds I missed get in there and breed, and I let it go wild for like a year. And so this was like 50% orange, 50% wild. Well, there's still a lot of really good orange shrimp left in there, so I've been calling this tank really hard. And then since work and Les been busy the last 2 or 3 months, this tank has gone wild, and I haven't really been keeping up with it like I should, and I need to rescue this tank, because the tank's doing all right, because I called it down really hard. And there's still there's some wilds in there, but the oranges, they always throw some red looking ones, and they've always thrown a few wilds here and there, these oranges, but I'm trying to get them better and better, and this one in particular. So I'm paying extra close attention to these. I try to get these as good as I can, and I did mess them up, and now it's taken me 6 months to a year, I guess, to get it back to this point after messing it up with a bunch of wilds. So now we got the algae wafers out. We're going to gather them all up, and we're going to look for calls. And I didn't let them gather up in a huge pile like I normally do, because there really wasn't that many. The quality of the shrimp was actually really good. Here's some of the ones I pulled out. A handful of low quality orange, and some wilds, and some weird looking ones. But yeah, pretty good really, I'd say. then we're gonna take a good look. I'd say this might end up being my best orange tank right now. So I'm pretty happy with how this turned out and how this tank is progressing. They said it was my best orange ever, and then I messed it up with wilds. And so here we are. What do we do with our culls? They go in the Skittles tank. So over here dumping some culls in the Skittles tank. Sharing this little tank project with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and we harvested some plants, and this is what we ended up with. From the horrible wrecked mess to not too bad. Orange shrimp are looking pretty good too. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little journey. I had to come up with something for a video this week for you guys, and this is what I come up with. I've been putting this tank off and telling myself I need to do this tank for a month, and never got around to it, and here we are. Looks pretty good. Nice finished product. Well, if you're still watching, you watched all the way to the end, because I'm sitting here in the middle of editing this video. My plan was to make a nice informational video about shrimp tank, planet shrimp tank lights, but that didn't happen with life and work and just so much limited time. But these new lights, I want to show you guys these new lights real quick. They are so nice. Look at how good this moss is growing. Just the new lights. Wow. But with time being limited, I'm about to clear up a whole lot more time for making videos and be ready to see a whole lot more of me. Oh goodness. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.